All right, strap in everybody. Today we are taking a deep dive into the end of the alpha male. We've got a bit of a mix for source material today, some marketing stuff, and we've also got some excerpts from the book itself. I'm excited about this one. It feels like one of those big paradigm shift kind of topics, like
Right.
really rethinking how things work.
Yeah, absolutely. The whole idea here is this shift for humanity, moving away from that old school dominance and control model and moving towards something way more balanced. Empathy, self-awareness, whole 9 yards.
I like it.
What I found really interesting right off the bat is how the book connects this shift to the whole Age of Pisces versus Age of Aquarius thing. Have you heard about that before?
Okay, so I know vaguely about astrological ages, but
Yeah.
give me the SparkNotes version. What are we talking about here?
So basically, these huge chunks of time, like 2,000 years each age supposedly influences like societal trends and stuff, big picture stuff.
Okay, so like a giant cosmic clock, each age sets a different vibe for humanity.
You got it. Now, Pisces, that's the age we're supposedly moving out of. That's all about hierarchy, structure, institutions like the church. Very top down,
Makes sense.
But Aquarius, that's the age we're supposedly moving into. Aquarius is all about like breaking those old systems down. It's about individuality, but also interconnection. And you guessed it, technology is a huge part of it.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it all ties into this whole alpha male thing, right?
So they're saying the alpha male, that classic image of like the powerful dude, is basically a Pisces relic. And now we're entering this Aquarian age where that archetype just doesn't fit anymore.
That's the core argument, yeah. And where it gets even more interesting is how they bring in AI into all of this.
Okay, hold on. So we've got cosmic ages shifting, the alpha fading out, and now AI is suddenly the main character.
Well, not quite the main character, but definitely a major player. They present AI not just as a tech thing, but almost like, I don't know, almost like an Aquarian tool
A tool for what?
for like helping us evolve our understanding of, well, everything, even masculinity itself.
All right, now I'm really intrigued. Tell me more.
Well, think about it. AI gives us access to tons of information, helps us process things objectively, can even be a creative partner, like in art or music or whatever.
Right.
So the book's argument is this is pushing us toward a more whole understanding of ourselves.
Where those like traditional masculine traits aren't the only measure of success anymore.
Exactly.
So instead of that strong and silent type, we're talking about a more well-rounded person. Someone who embraces both their, their analytical and emotional sides.
Absolutely.
Is that what they mean by the whole self?
That's the term they use, yeah. To describe someone who embodies both what we traditionally think of as masculine and feminine qualities. It's not about, like, erasing differences. It's about recognizing that everyone has this spectrum of traits and finding the right balance for yourself.
I'm starting to get it. It's like by analyzing data and just presenting things without any human bias, AI can help us step back from those old limited ways of defining things, like gender roles or what it means to be a leader.
Precisely. The book even uses this term, matriarchal leadership, to describe a style where things like nurturing, collaboration, guidance, those take center stage, instead of that top-down control thing.
That's fascinating. It makes me think about my own life, like in my work, in my relationships.
Yeah.
I feel like I am seeing more of this more balanced, collaborative approach. What about you?
Definitely. And the book actually goes into the history of all this. Like, how did we even get this alpha archetype in the first place?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, they give some fascinating examples, like knights in medieval Europe. Their whole code of chivalry was all about dominance, valor, loyalty to a king.
Right.
And that solidified this image of the ideal man for like centuries.
That's true. It's all about the context, isn't it? Like if those whole power structures are changing, it makes sense that our ideas about masculinity would change too.
Exactly. And the end of the alpha male is arguing that this isn't just some random trend, it's part of a much bigger evolutionary process.
And they're saying AI is speeding that process up.
Yeah, with its ability to expand our knowledge, challenge our biases, connect us in new ways. It's like AI is a catalyst for this whole shift.
Okay, so we've got these astrological ages, the fading alpha archetype, and AI emerging as this like force for change.
Right.
But let's be real, not everyone is going to be happy about this, right?
You're definitely right about that. The book acknowledges there's going to be resistance, even pushback. As these shifts gain momentum, they even use this term couch potato warrior to describe.
Oh, come on, I love that.
It's perfect, right?
Tell me they're talking about those guys who spent all day arguing online, but wouldn't know what to do with an actual sword.
Exactly. They argue that it's this like distorted version of that alpha archetype in a world where physical strength isn't the main thing anymore.
Right, right.
But it also points to this tension between the old and the new, between wanting to cling to those familiar power structures and like the urge to embrace this more evolved, more nuanced way of being.
So it's not just about men adapting to a new world. It's about all of us, right? Like society as a whole grappling with these big shifts in power and identity.
I think that's a great way to put it.
And AI is like holding up a mirror to all of this, forcing us to confront our biases and reevaluate what really matters.
Yeah, absolutely. And that brings us to one of the most interesting parts of the book, I think, this idea of revelation. Not as some apocalyptic event, but as a shedding of those outdated beliefs.
Okay, we are definitely going to have to unpack that in part 2.
Oh,
Because now I'm really hooked.
that whole revelation thing really got me thinking too. It's not like, fire and brimstone. It's more like this gradual waking up. Like we're all shedding our old skin, making way for something new.
Okay, but shedding skin sounds kind of painful. No. What does this revelation actually look like? Day to day, I mean. The book has to give us some pointers, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's actually pretty practical. There's a whole section, like a guidebook, for putting all these Aquarian ideals into action. And the first thing is all about balance, not just for society, but for ourselves too.
Like finding that balance between our masculine and feminine sides.
Yeah.
Not in like the stereotypical way, right?
Right, exactly. It's more about the energy those terms represent. So masculine thing, assertive, analytical, logic-driven, and feminine, that's more receptive, intuitive, nurturing. And we all have both, right? It's about finding that mix.
I like that.
Like if we're talking about moving away from that alpha male archetype, it's not about guys becoming less masculine. It's about expanding what strength means, including those feminine qualities too.
Yeah, it's not about suppressing emotions or always having to be in control. It's more about emotional intelligence
Exactly.
and empathy,
Yeah,
even vulnerability.
you got it.
When I think about the people I admire most, they can be strong when they need to be, but they're also really in touch with their feelings and the feelings of others.
Perfect example. That's what the book is getting at. And that leads to the next point. Inclusivity and empathy. It's about that Aquarian interconnectedness thing, but in real life.
So making an effort to understand different perspectives, being open to collaborating, valuing diversity.
All of that. Yeah.
It sounds simple, but it can be hard sometimes,
It's definitely a practice.
especially these days.
For sure. The book talks about stepping out of our comfort zones, seeking out different viewpoints, having those tough conversations.
We have to remember we're all in this together.
Right.
Our individual well-being depends on the well-being of everyone else.
It's all connected.
This makes me think of that matriarchal leadership thing again. Is that what they're saying? Like, that this more collaborative approach is how we navigate this whole Aquarian shift.
In a way, yeah. They argue that leadership style, prioritizing, nurturing, guidance, collective decision-making, it's better suited to the challenges we face today.
Like climate change, inequality,
Yay!
all the ethical questions around new tech. Like AI.
Which brings us back to AI. It's this powerful tool, but we got to use it responsibly, right?
That's a big one.
And responsibility starts with self-awareness. The book talks about using AI to understand ourselves better, like our personality, our biases, our patterns.
There's so many tools out there now that can do that.
It's incredible.
AI can help us see those unconscious things that might be holding us back.
Exactly.
And once we see them, we can start making better choices about how we use AI.
Right, aligning it with our values, making sure it contributes to the greater good.
So it's not just about passively consuming AI stuff. We have to be active participants,
Exactly.
shaping how AI develops.
So it serves humanity.
I like that.
And that leads to another key part of the guidebook, purpose and power.
Ooh, that's a good one. In this day and age, it's so easy to get caught up in the hustle,
It is.
chasing external markers of success.
The book challenges us to look deeper than that, beyond the wealth, the status, the dominance, and find a deeper meaning.
Finding work that truly lights us up, using our talents to make a real difference.
It's about shifting from what can I get to what can I give.
And that changes how we think about power, too.
Instead of power over others, it's power with others.
Using our influence to lift people up.
Create positive change.
Real strength comes from collaboration, empathy,
Having the courage to stand up for what's right.
even when it's hard.
And that brings us to the last part of the guidebook, expanded consciousness.
All right, now we're getting into some really interesting territory. What do they mean by expanded consciousness?
It's about opening ourselves up to new perspectives. Like, what if our current understanding of reality is just like a sliver of what's possible?
Yeah.
The book talks about exploring things like energy, vibration, even the idea of dimensions beyond the physical.
It's about embracing the unknown, pushing those boundaries.
Exactly, but doing it with curiosity and a healthy dose of skepticism.
Right, gotta keep it real.
They emphasize mindfulness and meditation to help us navigate these expanded states of awareness.
So we can stay grounded as we explore those new frontiers.
And remember, we're not alone in this, we're all connected. As we each expand our own consciousness, it contributes to the collective awakening of humanity.
That's a beautiful thought. But I have to admit, it's a lot to take in. Where do we even begin?
That's the beauty of it, there's no one right way. The book gives us a framework, some principles, but it's up to each of us to find our own path, to make it personal.
Like a map with multiple routes.
Exactly.
And we each get to choose our own adventure.
The journey itself is the destination. It's about embracing the process of growth, learning, shedding those old skins, and stepping into a more evolved version of ourselves.
It's funny, we started talking about the end of the alpha male, and now we're here talking about expanded consciousness and choosing our own adventures. We really went on a journey this episode.
We did, didn't we? And there's still so much more we could unpack. This book is seriously thought-provoking, but I think the main takeaway is the message of hope. It's not about predicting doom and gloom, it's a call to action, like an invitation to build a better future.
And that future is all about balance, right? Between those masculine and feminine energies, between the old and the new, technology and humanity, individual growth versus collective well-being.
All of it. It's not going to be an easy transition, though. There's going to be resistance, challenges, moments where everything we thought we knew gets flipped on its head.
Like that saying, the only constant is change. And we're living in a time of massive transformation.
Absolutely. It's exciting, but it can be scary too.
For sure.
But the book reminds us that this isn't new for humanity. We've always gone through these cycles of growth and evolution. Like, think about the shift from the agricultural age to the industrial age.
Right.
Now we're moving into something new again. Something that combines the best of the past with the possibilities of the future.
And AI is a huge part of that, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It can amplify the good in us, but also the bad. It all comes down to the choices we make.
That's the responsibility we have. With this level of technology, we have to be mindful, ethical. Compassion and empathy need to be at the forefront of every decision we make.
But like, we've been handed this incredibly powerful tool, but do we have the wisdom to use it wisely?
That's where the book's emphasis on self-awareness comes in. The more we understand ourselves, our motivations, our biases, the better choices we'll make.
We have to do our own inner work, so to speak.
Yeah.
If we want to create a better world out there.
And that inner work isn't just about individual growth, it's about connecting with something bigger than ourselves. Maybe that's spirituality, community, or just a deep appreciation for the interconnectedness of everything.
Recognizing that we're all part of something bigger.
Exactly.
Something that goes beyond our differences and brings us together as humans.
And that brings us back to the core message of the end of the alpha male. It's a message of hope, of possibility. We have the power to choose a different path, to create a future where balance, compassion, and conscious evolution are guiding principles.
It's inspiring, but I'm not going to lie, it's a lot to think about.
It is.
It feels almost overwhelming.
Well, the book offers a roadmap, some principles and practices to get started, but in the end, we each have to find our own way.
Right, it has to be personal.
Exactly. It's about experimenting, exploring, embracing the journey of becoming more conscious, more compassionate, more connected.
Becoming more human.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with some questions to ponder.
Yeah, what parts of this really resonated with you? What changes are you feeling called to make in your own life? And how can you contribute to creating that more balanced, compassionate, conscious world?
Those are great questions. Thanks for joining us on this exploration. Until next time, keep questioning, keep evolving, and keep believing in the incredible potential of humanity.